The anger you feel, the actual physiological surge, lasts about 30 seconds. The anger you carry for 3 days? That's not the emotion. That's the story you keep telling about the emotion. That's you reactivating it, over and over with your thoughts. The emotion passed. You're the one who brought it back. Most people experience emotions as things that happen to them. They arrive, take over, and eventually leave on their own schedule. Which is why it feels so unfair when an emotion lingers for hours or days. But the physiological reality of an emotion is much shorter than that. An emotional response is a cascade. A trigger activates the amygdala, which signals the hypothalamus, which releases hormones and neurotransmitters into the bloodstream, which produce the physical sensations you recognize as the emotion. Heart rate changes. Cortisol rises. Muscles tense. This cascade, if uninterrupted, runs its course in roughly 90 seconds to a few minutes. The neurochemicals are metabolized. The physiological storm passes. Everything after that is not the original emotion. It's the result of your thoughts re-triggering the same cascade. Harvard-trained brain scientist Jill Bolte Taylor, who suffered and recovered from a massive left hemisphere stroke, described this from direct observation in her 2008 memoir, My Stroke of Insight. With her analytical brain temporarily offline, she experienced emotions as pure physiological events and noticed their natural duration was very short. She describes the 90-second rule. When a person has a reaction to something in their environment, there's a 90-second chemical process that happens in the body. After that, any remaining emotional response is the person choosing to stay in that emotional loop. This aligns with the constructivist theory of emotion proposed by neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett. In her research and her 2017 book, How Emotions Are Made, Barrett argues that emotions are not passive events the brain receives. They are active predictions and constructions. Once the initial physiological surge subsides, the brain decides whether to sustain the emotional state based on ongoing thought patterns and interpretations. In other words, the emotion itself is brief. The duration of your emotional experience is largely a function of where you direct your attention afterward. This is one of the most practical reframes in emotional regulation, because it changes the question. Instead of, how do I control this emotion? The question becomes, what am I doing to keep restarting it? 3 tools. 1. Give it 90 seconds before responding. When an emotional surge hits, anger, fear, grief, humiliation, let it move through before you act. This is not suppression. You're not fighting the emotion. You're simply not responding until the physiological wave has passed. Most of the damage emotions cause is done in those first 90 seconds. 2. Notice the thought loop. After the initial surge passes, if the emotion is still present, it's being maintained by a thought. They always do this. This is unfair. I knew it. These thoughts re-trigger the cascade. You can observe the loop without following it. 3. Name what's happening. I'm feeling a physiological surge right now. It will pass in about 90 seconds. This metacognitive move activates the prefrontal cortex and reduces amygdala intensity. Labeling an emotion consistently reduces its neurological grip. You've never been a victim of your emotions as much as you thought you were. The emotion itself is brief. What extends it is the story, the replay, the grievance, the mental loop that keeps firing the same cascade. That loop is optional. You can feel the emotion fully, and then you can let it finish. 90 seconds is the wave. Everything else is the choice. If this gave you a new relationship with something you thought controlled you, share it. Follow the channel for neuro tips every week. Thank you for staying until the end. Your time is valuable, and I genuinely hope this was worth it. If this video left you with something, a thought, a shift, a question you didn't have before, a like helps it reach someone else who might need it too. And if you want to keep going, subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next one.